friends, it's Ian from RTO here, and welcome to a very special retro ranking. Now today's date is the 14th of May, and on the 14th of May 2021 I created this channel, and the very first video that I put out was an album ranking of Status Quo, which I think came out on the 16th of May ish. So to celebrate 3 years on YouTube, I thought I'd do another Status Quo video. Now what I thought I would do what I call the Status Quo deep cuts. So that means there'll be no singles, and there's going to be I've gone through all the albums and picked my sort of favourite or tracks that people shouldn't have never heard, and there'll be a great playlist to put that'll all go in, and that's just me knocking the microphone with my hand. So we're gonna start with 28. We haven't included anything off the cover albums because I'm not very fond of those. That may be for another video, you never know. So let's dive in because there's quite a lot here. So starting at number 28, we go to the Ain't Complaining album from 1988. And this is probably the best track on the whole album. Ain't Complaining, the single, wasn't too bad. But they did this one live on this tour, and it's called Cream of the Crop. I like the start, that little bit of keyboard. There's a bit of cheaty keyboard in it, but it sounds a lot better live. I do know that, and it's probably the best thing on probably the weakest album. Okay, coming in at number 27, we go to 1986 now, and this is from the In the Army Now album. Two good singles, Rolling Home and Red Sky, like them, but the others, they're a little bit cheesy. But there is one track on here that is a song that Rick done, and it's called End of the Line. It's great vocal from Rick, and it's not a bad track. Okay then, number 26, we go back to 1969 now, and the Spare Parts album. It's not a bad album, but there was one track on I love on there, and that is Little Miss Nothing. Probably one of the best tracks off this album, in fact. It's one of the great early tracks. I love the drumming on here from John Coghlan, and it's got some lovely piano here from the forgotten but most important Roy Linz. Really good track. Well, my nose today is giving me so much grief. Okay then, coming in at number 25, sorry. We go to 1989, and we go to the Perfect Remedy album. I love the cover, but it's not one of their strongest albums. Little Dreamers on here, and that's pretty good. I don't mind that. But the best track on here is The Power of Rock, and it's one of those Francis and Rick songs where they sing together. Normally, you got the lead vocal of Francis, and when it gets faster, in comes Rick to steal the show. It's great live, and it's a really good track. Okay, number 24, we're going to go back to the very beginning. Let's go back to 1968. Picturesque match-stickable messages from Status Quo. And I've picked a cover song on this, and it's a song that was originally done by the Bee Gees, and it's Spicks and Specks. It is an absolutely belter track and a belter cover. They do this brilliant version. Of course, this has got Matchstick Men and Ice in the Sun, but out of all the other tracks, this cover is the best on the album. I really like it. I love the Bee Gees version, but I do love Status Quo's. It's a lovely bit of keyboard work from Roy again. Okay, number 23. We now go to 1994 and another album that's not favourable for me, and it's Thirsty Work. But there is one track on there I'd really like. Now this is one of these albums that when they did a remix, there's some tracks that should have been on the album and they weren't. But one track that is good is Rude Awakening Tone. It's a really upbeat, riffy sort of track, and I don't mind this one, to be quite honest. It's got, the only thing I think that could be taken out is Andy Bell's keyboard, because it was just 90s thing, but apart from that, it's got a great riff in it. Do like that one. Okay, number 22, we go to 2013. Now, Status Quo made a film called Quiver Quo. It's all right. I've got it because I'm a Quo fan. Of course, I've got it. But there is one song on there. I can't stand the Quiver Quo song. That is just, yeah. But there was a track that actually Rhino, John Edwards, sings on it, and it's called Run and Hide, the Gun Song. Now, Rhino is not a bad singer, but this has got a really, really good riff, and I quite like it. It's quirky, and so that's why I chose that one from that album. Okay, number 21. Now, this one's from 1977, so it's from Rocking All Over the World. What lets this album down is the production. There's some great tracks on here. I mean, I don't like Rocking All Over the World. Hold You Back, everybody knows. But there is an Alan track on here that I really love, and it's called You Don't Own Me. I like the guitar is quite funky. It's probably one of the funkiest tracks Quo ever did, but I just like this. I could have gone for Hold You Back, but everyone knows that. But I thought that's why I'd give this one a bit of love, because it's an Alan track. Okay, we're into number 20 now, and we're going to go to 1999, the last album of the millennium, and it's Under the Influence. And I've gone for the actual title track. Some great playing on this. The single was 20 White Horses, 20 Wild Horses, something like that. And that's not too bad. But this has got some great bass from John Rhino Edwards, and Jeff Ritchie's drumming on this is really good. It's got that rolling sort of feel to it. I do like that. Okay, number 19. 1983, the last album that featured Alan Lancaster and the Back to Back. It's got the awful Going Downtown Tonight on it, and Margarita Time. But apart from Mess of the Blues and Old Rag Blues, the third track, Can't Be Done, is proper Quo. It's got the great little track. Pete Kircher's drumming on it is pretty cool as well. Song about pushing buttons and that, but it's just, you know, nuclear buttons. But it's a real catchy tune, and that's why I like it. Number 18. Go to the 1982 album, released in, of course, 1982. And it's the first song on side 2 of Resurrection. Probably one of my favourite tracks by Rick. Great guitar on it. It's quirky. Another great drum performance from Pete Kircher. Probably Dear John was great off this album, but this is my favourite track. Okay, number 17. We're going to go right up to date, and probably, I think, the last studio album by Status Quo. And it's the very good Backbone. Some really good tracks on there. The two best, Liberty Lane was a great, and Give Me Some Slack, which was a single. So they're not counted. But the one I really like on here that's a bit of a deep cut is I Want to Run Away With You. You've got a little bit of Richie Malone singing on it, who took over from poor old Rick. It's a great track, and it's got a great riff in it, rhythm. You know, if you didn't know, you thought it was Rick. Now, don't forget that Rick chose Richie to replace him. And I think people give him some stick, but I think Richie has done a great job, and I love this track. It really is good. Okay, number 16. We're going to go to 1991 now. And the Rock You Drop. Remember the Rock You Drop concerts? I saw 3 of the concerts. Or was it 2? I can't remember. No, it was 2. I didn't see the 3rd. I saw the one at Sheffield and then the one at Birmingham. And on that album, there's some pretty good tracks. But we didn't want to hear a re-recorded 4,500 times or Can't Give You More. Rock to Your Drop's okay. But I like One Man Band. Typical Rick track, isn't it? I like the Rhino's bass bit, and they start the track again, and I think it's a great, I think it's a Rhino and Parfit track, probably one of the best tracks on there. Excellent track. Okay, number 15. We get to 2007, and In Search of the Fourth Chord. Quite a few tracks on here that are okay. The single from the beginning to the end is absolutely brilliant. But the one I've gone for is the other song, another song that John sings, and it's Bad News. I love that rhythm and boogie from Rick. Great vocal from Rhino. Absolutely top drawer. One of the best songs on that album. Number 14, 2005 now. And the album, The Party Ain't Over Yet. My favourite track on here is Rick's Bella Vista Man. Absolutely brilliant track. Great riffs. Great live. Saw them do this live. Absolutely killer track. Best track on the album. Beats the singles as well. Number 13, 2011. And we go to the excellent album, Quiver Quo Pro. So many good tracks on here. But I've gone for Reality Check. Another great Rick track. Matt's drumming on here is fantastic. Love this track. Number 12. Another album from the 2000s. Heavy Traffic, 2002. I think this is where Quo really started to come back to their own again. With some great songs. And a favourite on here, I mean, Jam Side Down's quirky. I could have had the Oriental. But the one I've gone for is a track co-written by Rhino and Rick. And it's Creeping Upon You. Absolutely brilliant track. Real rocker, another fine performance by Rick. Okay, coming in at number 11, we're really getting to the nitty gritty things now. And we're going to go to 1970 and the album that Quo went heavy, as people say. Mark Kelly's Greasy Spoon. It's got some wonderful tracks on there, hasn't it? Daughter, Junior's Wailing. But the one I've gone for that no one doesn't remember much, and that's Shy Fly, because it's got a great riff in it. It's just a great bit of drumming from John as well. It's a really forgotten about deep cut track. Okay, top 10. We're now getting into the business end, aren't we, really? So coming in at number 10 is this is a track from my favourite Quo album of all time. The Quo album. from 1974. Oh, so many good tracks on here. Don't Think It Matters, Drifting Away. But I've gone one of my favourite tracks, Slow Train. I just love this. I love that bit. Some great little drum bit from John. You've got that lovely Francis and Rick guitar piece. And a solid, but most important, bass line from Mr. Lancaster. Okay, number 9. We go to 1978 now. And If You Can't Stand the Heat. Some good tracks on here. I love Stones. I love Accident Prone and again, but we can't have them. So I've gone for the last track on side 1, Long-Legged Linda. Another great Rick track. And I like it at the end when you hear Francis going, let's go and have an ear roll. It's got brass on it, it's got backing singers, but it's just a good old-fashioned rock track. Okay, number 8, 1976, and the Blue For You album. Mystery Song is on that, and Rain, great singles. Is There a Better Way? Another great track. But I've gone for Mad About the Boy, because it's got towards the end you have that lovely key change. It's another chugga chugga sort of track as well, and I do love that track. Number 7. Go back to 1972, and one of the rawest Quo albums you'll ever find. Piledriver. Paper Plane was on this. Big Fat Mama, everybody knows this, and it's got Roadhouse Blues. But I've actually gone for one of the ballads. It's probably one of my favourite ballads, and it's All the Reasons. It is absolutely brilliant. Again, it's Rick. I love this song. It's absolutely wonderful. Number 6, 73, and the number 1 album, Hello. I could have gone for lots of things, 4,500 times on here. Softer Riders on here, and I love that. Caroline's on it, Roll Over Lay Down. But I've gone for another Rick track, and it's called A Reason for Living. I love that riff at the beginning, and it's a song about Rick's questioning the Almighty. There's so many good tracks on this, and I thought I'd give this one because all the others get played regularly on stage, so that's why I went for A Reason for Living. Number 5, go to 1971 now, and The Dog of Two Head. So many great tracks on here. It's got the brilliant Railroad, it's got Mean Girl, it's got Gertendula, but the one I've gone for is Someone's Learning. Absolutely brilliant. It's my favourite track, and it's one of my favourite tracks of all time by Quo. It's just little bits of this ended up in the live version of 4,500 times, especially on the Glasgow live album. It's really, really good. Absolutely killer track. Okay, number 4. Got a 1981 now. John's last album, Never Too Late. Again, this album is full of great tracks. The title track's great. Something About Your Baby You're My Likes on here. Riverside with that memorable riff. But I've chosen Take Me Away purely on the guitar solo, and the bass from Alan is brilliant, and it's a song about, this was at the time that poor old Rick's daughter was tragically killed, and so it's all that sort of time, but it's a really driving song. Love it. Okay, top 3. We're going to go to 1975 to the On the Level album, and it's the track that starts off with "Wow, what sheriff's coming." Looks like entry here. It's What to Do, a classic sort of chugga chugga Status Quo track. Great bass line from Mr. Lancaster on that. Fabulous track. Okay, number 2. We go to 1979 on the Whatever You Want album. Of course, Whatever You Want's a great track. Living on an Island's a beautiful track. Runaway is brilliant as well. Who Asked You? Come Rock With Me, an album that's full of great tracks. But I've gone for Breaking Away, and it's probably the best Rick and Francis combination song. Got the real melodic bit when Francis sings, some nice keyboard from Andy Bowen, who was not officially a member of the band, but he is. People forget he's been around since 1973. So it's got that, and then it sort of slows, and then you get this great little riff between Alan and Rick, and then Rick comes in with the vocal of Four Rockers Rolling. Absolute Four Rockers Rolling, the poet to the... Absolutely steals the track. And then it goes back to Francis, and then they get that slow melodic finish. Absolutely killer track. But my number 1, which will probably shock a lot of people, is from an album that's very special to me. It's from 1918, so they're just supposing. Some great tracks on here. Lies, What You're Proposing, Rock and Roll's on here. But it's my favourite track that Alan ever wrote. It sounded brilliant live. And it's the brilliant Over the Edge. Now, when you play this, the studio version is great. It's heavy. I do like Andrew's keyboards in this. And then you get the bit where you get them all singing different bits. Brilliant. But once this is on stage, it goes into another stratosphere. There's hardly any keyboard on it. It's just pure rock. Absolutely top drawer stuff. And that's why it's my number 1 song. It's brilliant in the studio, and it's even better live. Absolutely great track. And that's why it's my number 1. So there we go. There's a little way to celebrate 3 years doing another Quo video. Okay, that's all for Dad today. Very miserable day at that. But we'll be back tomorrow. Now, it's marathon day, and this was me going down a huge rabbit hole. A band that I didn't know much about. So I was listening to these for the very first time. It's a viewer's request, and we're going to look at the albums of the Circus Devils. So that's all coming to tomorrow. Just a quick reminder, don't forget, if you haven't voted for the semi-final to see who's going through to the grand final of Battle Royale, we've got Who's Next up against Colour of Spring. So go to the community tab and go and cast your vote to see who you want to get into the final. So have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.